listening to the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast, a podcast in sisterhood for female entrepreneurs that serves up savvy, actionable marketing advice and interviews with creative business owners who are in the trenches, building their businesses as we speak. The Marketing in Yoga Pants community is for you, the girl on her couch, in her yoga pants, top knot tight, hunched over her MacBook, trying her hardest to get the word out about her business. So in the name of supporting each other while supporting ourselves, bringing community, sound marketing advice, coffee, chocolate, and wine together for you, yoga pants wearing business owner, in a world where followers mean nothing, but paying customers mean the world, join us on this week's podcast episode and in our private Facebook group where you'll meet your soul sisters and build your business in yoga pants. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. I'm Brit Colo, and I'm here today with Reina Pomeroy, founder of Reina and Co. and co-host of the Creative Empire podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today, Reina.
Thank you so much for having me, Brittany. I'm so excited to connect and talk about all the things.
Me too. Okay, so Reina and I were introduced to each other via Amanda Boleyn, our other resident connector. She loves connecting people, and I was just, so I'm going to be really honest, you guys. I saw Reina's connection email come through my inbox, and I fangirled a little hard. I did. And she's like, no way. No, I really, because I have listened to the Creative Empire podcast since it first began. I think I somehow found it within the first couple of episodes. And so I've been listening to you, Reina, forever. I feel like I know you already. And so when we were able to make the contact, I was like, yes, let's do this. So needless to say, I'm pumped to get to chat with you today, get some insight into your business, your industry, your marketing strategy, and what makes it all tick. So
awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay. So first of all, Reina, tell me how you earn your living.
That's a great question. So my simple answer is that I am a coach for creative entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And that means I do a couple different things. So the first thing, the core of my business and the revenue comes mostly from one-on-one clients. And it's a deliberate move. A lot of my competitors probably are moving into lots of the kind of the passive, more leverage products, but I really love my one-on-one clients. So I stick mainly to that. And then I have group programs. I have a couple sprint masterminds that I run every year. And then we do have some leverage products as well. And we also have the podcast. So that's kind of like a side revenue stream as well.
Yeah. So explain, I know, and I've talked to the listeners because we have our private Facebook group and we talk about podcasting quite a bit. What are you listening to? And we talk about the Creative Empire podcast all the time. But it might not be obvious to them how that all fits into your more regular day-to-day of coaching. So where did the Creative Empire podcast come in here?
That's a great question. So Christina and I connected probably a year and a half ago, and she was looking to fill this void. She is such a great person at finding voids in an industry where there's a big hole and she wanted to fill it. She kept seeing conference speakers who were going around and speaking at different conferences, but they weren't being featured on podcasts. And she saw that there was a need for this particular type of conference speaker to have a platform on podcasts. And we wanted to be that. We started out by introducing people who had been doing kind of like the creative entrepreneur conference circuit and wanted to bring them into one platform. She reached out to me and was like, hey, what do you think about this idea? I was actually skeptical at first, but after a couple days decided that it was going to be a fun next move. And it's fun because the Creative Empire podcast taps into a newer part of my industry. So the coaching clients that I have, at least the one-on-ones, are further along in their business. And so I didn't get a chance to talk to a lot of the newer entrepreneurs. And it's fun to be able to have the newer entrepreneurs on one end, and then a little bit more established, mature entrepreneurs. Mature is probably the wrong word, just like seasoned entrepreneurs on the other end. And it's cool to have that wider range and be able to serve a different audience at different places in their businesses.
Nice. Okay. So being that that is how you earn your living and how you spend your time, I want to know the story of how you came to do this with your life. And I know that it's a good one, so I can't wait for you to tell us. What got you here?
It's so funny because we all kind of go through this path, right? I've interviewed a bunch of women, and actually a couple guys too, about the creative path.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're all sort of on these like weird parallel paths where it's so super windy.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, I thought that I was going to, go to finish high school, go to college, do this thing, get a job, maybe get a master's degree or whatever. I actually thought I was going to go to law school, and I was like, check, right, doing the things. And then all of a sudden I realized after college, I graduated in the peak of the recession. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. I had just graduated with a liberal arts degree, and I was like, all right, here's law school. That's what's next. And set out to do that. But I wanted to spend some time doing other things. And it was kind of by accident, kind of by chance, that I stumbled upon the things that I did afterwards. I worked on campaigns, and I really was involved in a lot of social justice type of activities, and really wanted to get more into the social justice aspect of law. And my dad who is an attorney, was like, no way, not going to happen. And I did a lot of soul searching and ended up becoming a social worker, which I don't think that he was all that excited about, but it's just what I ended up doing, and really appreciated becoming a social worker, did that and was in the field for a while. And the transition from social work to this business came from my first business, which was a wedding and event planning business that I did as a total side hustle. So I know your audience can really relate to this. I had a full-time social work job. I wanted a creative outlet, and so started my wedding planning business. And because that's what you do, you don't just like go to a painting class, you start a wedding planning business. And I feel like that's just what ambitious people do. They just like look at what their skills are and say, what can I do with this? And that's what I really was doing. But yeah, I realized one day that after having my son and like doing a 2-hour commute I think it was like each way. It was like an hour and a half to 2 hours each way with the son. And it was just really miserable. I remember one day when my son was probably like 4 months old, right after I got back from maternity leave. And he was screaming in the backseat, and we were stuck in traffic, and I couldn't do anything. And I was like singing all the lullabies and trying to like reach my hand back and twist myself. And I was just like, there's got to be more than this. Like, I can't keep living like this. And wanted to figure out what that was. Had no idea what that was. I knew it wasn't the wedding planning thing, and I knew that it wasn't the social work thing in the position that I was in. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to find a different job. And yeah, I just became a coach because one of the things that I was doing training on while I was a social worker was coach training. And I left my job. I left my wedding planning business, which I could have kept doing, but my heart was telling me that I needed to go somewhere else. And yeah, once I went to coach training school, it was like, here we are. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I want to, listen to people, listen to what's on their heart, and help them build businesses that really work for them.
That's interesting. And I don't know that I've interviewed anyone yet to say that they had their full-time job and they started their first business, and that first business, they thought it was going to be what they wanted to do, but it wasn't. And so then you had to pivot again. And I think that happens more than maybe we talk about,
Yeah,
we're entrepreneurs and we want to do this thing. And so we try something, and it's scary to say, oh, I think I was kind of wrong, or maybe I was right at that time, but now is a different time for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That was totally the right season for the thing that I wanted to do. And what's really interesting is that I learned in that side hustle that how to like run a business. I was not very good at it. I would say like the wedding planning stuff was fine, but I was not the best business owner because I was kind of like side hustling, and I really didn't take it as seriously as I probably could have. So like if you were interviewing me on this podcast like 4 years ago, it would have been a disaster. Like I probably didn't have the most defined ideal client, but what I realized is that I love to be able to help other people, like help other vendors in my industry, like
Mm-hmm.
be more business savvy, to have more of those things in place, which is so funny because it's like, what is it called? Like just you're like, you can do the thing, but you can only do it for somebody else. Right.
Yeah.
And contradictory. So I really try to practice what I preach now in my business at Reina Co now. And we really try to make it so that our business isn't just talk, and we're really doing the things alongside our clients and living the kind of life we want to live, as well as running the kind of business we want to run.
Awesome. Okay, so take me a little deeper into that, the connection between, all right, I'm leaving the full-time job. I've got this side hustle wedding planning business, but I know that it's wrong. What had to happen for you to think, maybe this life business coach track is what I want to do? And once you figured that out, what was your first couple of steps that put you in that direction?
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like none of it was actually wrong. I never felt like any of it was wrong. It was just a pivot, and I felt like I
Mm-hmm.
had to make a shift. I think a lot of people hem and haw over like making those big decisions. I was like, this is it. This last wedding, that's it. I loved my couple. I was like, I'm going out with a bang. It's going to be a great time. And in the meantime, sort of like we tell these stories thinking that like this is the end of one chapter and then the next one begins. But actually, in reality, while that chapter was still happening, I was getting coach trained, and I was finding test clients in the Reina and Co, like what is now Reina and Co, but was just back then coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and learning what I liked about working with people, what kind of problems I can help people solve, what kinds of things people were experiencing, and just connecting with those people so that I can refine my ideal client, refine the problems that I was helping with, and building a language set around Reina and Co and the things that I believed about this business. So partially marketing, but partially like just deepening my skill set as a coach. And I think that a lot of people don't practice enough of their craft,
Mm-hmm.
and they just kind of dive in, and everyone calls themselves a coach because anyone can call themselves a coach, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually coach trained, and I really wanted to do like more hours, more talking, more communicating with people so that I can actually prove to myself that I was worth hiring.
So I'm hearing it was just a natural ebb and flow as you worked through it, which sounds awesome. And you're right. I think we do, as we listen to these stories, on podcasts or read through somebody's story, I think we try to make it cleaner than it actually was. And so
Oh,
I'm
it's a hot
really glad. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you brought, you made it real, and like, no, it was kind of just a transition all over the place. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
I mean,
really
one
good
thing that
point.
like this like illustrates how messy it was at the very beginning, or at the end of my like social work career / wedding career. So I left my job in October. I think October 4th was my last day. And then my last wedding was like mid-January, I want to say. And so like during that period of time, I had a 1-year-old, right?
Mhm.
And I didn't have daycare for him anymore because I couldn't pay for it. And so I was full-time parenting, didn't know what I wanted to do next. I had my first coach training school in March. And so it was like kind of happening piece by piece. And I was talking to more people and communicating, and I didn't really know how to talk about what I wanted to do. Didn't have a website, none of these things. I
Mhm.
started my business April 1st, took my first class March 14th. So like 2 weeks later.
Mhm.
Um, and I was still full-time momming at that point, right? And one of the things that I remember is that from that point, I realized that I needed to find some kind of stable daycare situation or childcare situation in order to make anything happen. So I got a side hustle. I became a business consultant or I helped with a business consultancy and did research and kind of did admin stuff and any kind of support that they needed for their consulting stuff so that I could put my son in daycare and work on Reina and Co.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, all of that stuff. Those details sometimes get missed when we just bring everything into one explanation. So that's awesome. Okay, so take me to you. You started your business. You said in April. Take me back. How did you get your first client and make your first dollar? What did that look like?
Oh man. Okay. So my first client was, I think, a pro bono client. The first paying client that I got was actually a college friend. And it's so funny. We worked together, I think it was like supposed to be a 12 session package. And I remember her, like we did a discovery call, but it wasn't a call. We met in person. We had this like conversation. I made her cry like in the best way, which is like the hallmark of a good coaching session. No, I'm just kidding. We kind of got to the guts of what she was dealing with. And she made some huge life changes in the first set of time that we got to work together. And then we worked for another 6 months after that. So it was like a total of 9 months that we got to work together. She left her partner that she was dating. She left her full-time job, moved to a different city, got a brand new job that was her dream job. She wasn't an entrepreneur, but she was a life coaching client. And it was one of the best experiences for me because I could tell that our conversations were having an impact, right? Like the results that we talk about often are so, it's so different than what we typically look for. And it's like change is hard for people. And to be able to see that this person was willing to take on her fears and take on big changes. I mean, like all her stuff into a truck kind of changes. And yeah, so it was cool to have that. She wrote me a check. I didn't have a business account by that point. So yeah, that was how I got my first client.
Cool. Okay. So then take me into the next, how long have you been doing Reina and Co as life coaching?
So we started April 1st of 2015. So it's been 2.5 years now.
Okay. So from that first client, take me into the next couple of clients. What did you start doing to gain a little bit of that traction?
Yeah. I feel like once I discovered Facebook groups, the doors like opened wide up. Like it's so crazy. And I feel like right now we're in a weird season of Facebook groups, but back then in like early 2015, it was like hopping. Like there were things, lots of groups happening, but like the ones that I was part of were pretty small. I was meeting people left and right. And honestly, it wasn't about like getting clients. I just wanted to like practice my skills. I wanted to connect with people. And I went in with the hope that I can get on as many calls as I could. And I did. I think in the first 6 months or so, I did about 100 something calls. And like some of them were shorter, some of them were longer. Some of them were discovery calls, like sales calls. Some of them were just like, let me coach on you kind of thing. And really just practicing for free.
Wow, that's really great. We talk about that a lot on the podcast and in the group. Obviously, we find great value in our private Facebook group, but also in others. And so, once again, we've got somebody else on the podcast being like, yep, Facebook groups. That's a great way to.
Another thing too, can I just leave a caveat here because people get really frustrated with Facebook groups. We have a Facebook group for the Heart-Centered Biz Bosses, which is the group that I run. And people are like, oh my gosh, it's just so annoying. There's so many of them, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But I think that what I really want people to focus on is the intimacy and connections. If you are part of 3 amazing groups, then stay there, right? Like don't worry about, oh, this big, huge influencer has a big, huge group. I really do concentrate on the ones that have the most like contact connections and where people actually know me. I have this method that I call the social glue method, and I really just get on a call, do coffee chats, get to know them, and then start shouting people out. I really just celebrate what they're working on and shout people out in terms of like what it is that I think that they're doing awesome on. If I see a thread where I know my friend could really be awesome for this person, I'll be like, hey, have you connected with Brittany, have you done this? And just be able to connect and make those social glue connections.
Exactly. That's what we teach and preach as well. It's really going in there to be of service first. That's how all good marketing works. And it's no different for Facebook. So, okay. So let's shift and talk about I've watched you at least the past year. And I know that I just kind of have a feeling your business has taken quite a transition, like a really good positive transition over the past year. So tell me, what are you doing right now to market your business?
That's so funny. Well, a lot of different things, I think. So the past year has been bananas, right?
Yeah.
So 2017 was supposed to be the year of build. Last year, 2016 was a huge year of growth. We exploded our list, our just connections with people, and made some really cool contacts and stuff like that. And I went on a podcasting tour at the end of last year. And so people were like, Reina, you're all over the place. What are you doing? You're so busy. I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel like that. But like when you're visible, it feels like that for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of marketing we have been doing in the past. But this year has been a little bit like lower key, I feel like. I'm being more intentional about saying no to things, which is kind of hard because I'm a people pleaser. But I really just try to connect and like create opportunities. We do a lot of marketing through our list. So we have our sunshine list, which is where
Mm-hmm.
we send all of our love mail. And then we have our heart-centered biz bosses group, which is a pretty small group. I mean, it's not compared to a lot of the bigger ones. It's cozy and comfy and lots of connections are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Where else do we connect? Oh, we have a podcast. So that's definitely like a very prominent part of how I market my services. But something that I have done from the very, very beginning is I do a lot of invitation-based offers. So I will invite people who have communicated with me, who I've been in touch with, who I've had discovery calls with. Maybe when we had a call about, doing one-on-one and it wasn't a good fit, but this other offer might be a good fit, I will extend an offer to them, even if I don't send it to anybody else. Or I'll test and like do experiments with my group. And right now we just started the social glue sessions, which is a smaller mastermind experience for newer entrepreneurs. And it started as an experiment. We didn't even have a sales page, right? It was a Google Doc where I like typed out all of the information and we had like 36 people sign up. And it's really cool to be able to see like, okay, we have this idea. This is what you want. I'm asking you what you want so we can include it. And then we're creating that thing for you. So yeah, it's been really fun to be able to show people that it doesn't always have to be like this amazing flashy thing where like, penguins are tap dancing. It's like, this is what you're asking for and I'm going to do that for you because that's the kind of connection I want with my audience.
That's so savvy. I love that. And actually that's giving me some good fuel for my next project. So thank you for that. All right. So what are you working on right now?
Yeah, so we just closed our registration for social glue sessions. I am in the thick of finishing up our book. So we have a book coming out on Halloween called The Big Plan for the Creative Mind. And it's all about goal setting and productivity and focus for like creative entrepreneurs, people who are right-brained and feel like goal setting has never traditionally worked for them and they want to find a way to do it. And we're just really encouraging people to like take what you need of the best practices that we're seeing and create your own goal setting methods.
So a book, I don't think I knew about this somehow. I must have missed it. So are you self-publishing? What has that looked like?
Yeah, so we're self-publishing. I'm co-writing it with Danny Fountain, and it's been super fun because she is the queen of collaborative books, and she and I are collaborating on this. And we've interviewed 14 incredible creative entrepreneurs who are, we would think that they're at the top of their industry, or they are thought leaders and are living really cool lives. We wanted to showcase their lifestyle as well as their goals for their businesses so that you can see like it's not just business plans, right? It's not just the way that you plot out your 90-day year or whatever. It's really about the meshing of life and business and how do you do all of it. And if people are moms or if people are soloing or whatever it is, like we wanted to take into consideration all those things so that whoever's reading it can be like, okay, I like this piece from this person. I like this piece from this person. This will work for me because I like mornings or whatever. And create a plan for them that really works and sustain their lifestyle in a way that feels businessy, but also is connected to their life.
And that so very much speaks to the creative mind and drive and the creative life that we're all striving to have. So, that's so exciting. And so, the book comes out, you said it's going to be on Halloween.
Yep.
And then anything else you're looking forward to, anything that's coming next?
Oh my goodness, what is coming next? I feel like there's a lot of big changes coming for Reina and Co. in general. I think that, so we celebrate our anniversary in a big way. So 1st is our anniversary, and we always celebrate it in a big way. So depending on what's happening then, it'll be really fun to see what happens. But next year we're going to be doing Introverts Paradise, which is a retreat that I lead, and it's a great experience because there's a mastermind before, and you get to the retreat, people are like really lit up by the time they meet their friends. And let's see what else. I'm going to be doing more coaching, obviously, just constantly looking for people who want the kind of support that I love to offer. And my people are typically right-brained and heart-centered. They have so many big picture goals, but they struggle with figuring out what to focus on. Mm-hmm. So we like to help them figure out what's most important and become the go-to expert in their industry. So always looking for people who I can help with in that way. And I can't wait to figure out what life brings too, because we're in a transition period where transition is probably the wrong word, but we want to grow our family and we want to possibly move and stuff like that. So putting life first sometimes might be a priority for us next year.
Okay, so I have to ask, so I know, so you've got your coaching that you just so much, you light up when you talk about it. So we know that that's the main part of what you're doing. You've got the podcast, you've got the book, you've got your masterminds and your group programs. Not that you can, I'm sure you can't just say how you do it, but if you could nail down one strategy of how you manage all of those moving parts. Yeah. What does that look like right now for you?
Okay, so let me try to see if I can make this as concise as possible.
I know, right? It's a big question.
Really long-winded answer. So cut me off if I'm too long-winded.
Oh no, don't worry.
So I use a couple different tools, and the tools aren't the end-all be-all, but it helps me organize my life. Mm-hmm. For sure, the first thing I do is I have A and B weeks. So content creation, connection calls, all of those happen during A weeks. B weeks are my client calls. So all of the things that I need to do for my clients, or at least my one-on-one clients where they are scheduling calls with me, that happens on 1 week. And obviously I leave room for them during the A week so that if questions come up or they just have to check in for 1 second or whatever, we can definitely do that. But having that creates a lot of space for my brain, because during the A weeks, I can, write blog content or record days worth of podcasts. I can work on my book. I really have a lot of white space there. Mm-hmm. And it gives me peace of mind to know that that blog post is actually going to get done at some point in time. Or if I have a presentation coming up, I know that I can plug in time to actually get that done. So that's one tool that I use, the A and B weeks. And this is all in our book too. And these are the kinds of strategies we're sharing in the book so that you get more done. And for me, it's not about doing all the things. We talk about hashtag all the things, but for our business, it's been a very concerted effort to be purposeful and focused. And no one's going to be able to see this but we have our 90-day goals, and it's this ratty piece of paper that has 3 by 3 boxes where we have 3 focuses for this quarter. These are the 3 things we're focused on. So sometimes it's okay, in October I'm focusing on this, November I'm focusing on this, December I'm focusing on this. There's 3. Or it's going to take a little bit longer to get all of them done. So we're kind of doing parallel work. So on this project, this is what's due this month, next month, the last month. And then here's the next project. So it's pieced out so that I know exactly what's supposed to be happening, whether it's me doing it or my team doing it. And we're kind of working in tandem, and it's all getting done, hopefully.
And do you personally try to figure all of that out a year at a time, or a half a year at a time, a quarter at a time? What does that look like?
Oh, I love that. Okay. So I have my year goal. I have the projects that I want to launch in each quarter. So I have anchor points. So what are the things that I want to have rolled out in that quarter? Those are the only things that really are kind of nailed down. And then the other things are things like, here are the things that I want to be working on this quarter. So I might want to start brainstorming about this project, something like that. And those are mostly to just trigger my brain to say here's something that you have been thinking about. Here's a time to do it. And when I get to that period in time, it's not always the main focus, or something else has come up. So I leave a lot of room in my goal setting, but I do my financial planning first. So the projections come first, and then I do my year-long planning.
Right. You've got my mind just
It's like,
everything that you're saying. I need to go back to this recording and write all my notes down because you're just speaking to me right now. Right now. I'm in a place where I see that vision and I'm working towards it, and it's definitely an up level. And anything that if I can connect and get closer to someone that is kind of already doing that up level, I'm like, okay, give me all the notes, like give me all your things, and I just need to know more. So thank you for that. That's just
yeah,
lighting
absolutely.
me up. All right, so we're gonna anything, did you have something else?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, one of the things that I love to do with my clients is to show them what's happening behind the scenes for me, right? Like just because I'm a coach doesn't mean that I'm perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
we always, whether it's my group coaching or anything like that, I have a Slack channel usually that says like behind the scenes or like working in action. And like literally as it's happening, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really scary. I don't know what's happening here. Or this is what I'm working through today, and hold me accountable too. And I think it's really cool for them to see like what is happening behind the scenes. So it's not just like this very polished, very curated version of our business, but
Mm-hmm.
what's actually happening, and that they feel like what they're going through is actually pretty consistent with what I'm going through too. So
Wow, that's like, once again, I'm gonna write that one down too. That's really smart. I'm sure it makes them feel so much more comfortable, really sharing what they need to share when they see that you're not, you know, all quote
perfect
unquote
all the time.
perfect, because no one is, right?
I
Yeah.
certainly am not. No, but when my mentor, Amber McHugh, and Nikki Elledge Brown do this so beautifully, both of them model like leading from the front and leading like in a way that is just with us and like in
Mm.
front of us too. And it's really cool to be able to see those models who are doing it, and it makes me want to do it more too, because it makes me vulnerable, but at the same time I think it's such a learning point for people.
So smart. Okay, so I'm gonna lighten things up. Some really quick, easy questions. Uh, Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Oh my gosh, so many. I lived in Vienna for a while, and I loved Vienna.
Oh wow, I thought you were gonna say your recent Asia trip. That sounded like a
Well, that's good too.
yeah.
My family lives in Japan, so I get to visit them quite a bit. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Cool. Okay. What's your favorite way to learn? Do you read? Do you listen? Bit of both. What does that look like?
I really love to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm such an audiobook girl, so Audible, you are my life. If you can sponsor my life, that would be great. But no, I really do love to listen to things, and podcasts are a great way to connect with people. And yeah, I love doing that.
Cool. Right now, what would you love to outsource?
Oh my gosh, I already outsourced like most of my life. I would love to hire another housekeeper because mine moved, so I need a new one. But in my business, I outsource pretty much all the things that I don't like to do or
Awesome.
am not good at.
What was your very first thing that you outsourced?
The very first thing that I outsourced and am still outsourcing is my graphics.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Cool.
They were hot messes. Now
Yeah.
they're awesome.
That's funny because as creatives, and I am definitely under this boat, so I'll just be vulnerable with this. As a creative and somebody that used to do design, because like marketing and design sometimes comes under the same
Mhm.
umbrella. And so I have held on to that design piece, and I really need to let it go. So
Well, it'll probably free up a lot of brain space for you.
yes, you're probably right.
But my graphics were hot messes before, so like I probably don't even compare to what you're doing.
Yeah. All right. One last question we have to end with. Looking back, what advice would you give yourself when you were first starting your business? That girl on her couch, hunched over her MacBook, trying to figure this out. What would you say to her?
Oh my gosh. Just one thing?
Yeah.
Whew. First of all, go for the connections. Don't
Mm.
look for the numbers of people that you like could go viral with. Like look
Ooh.
for those connections. Um, when you're serving the one person that's in front of you, you will make such a deep impact, and you're going to be able to change lives that way. And you
Mm.
have to believe that about yourself. So that's like another thing too. And it comes with practice, but the confidence
Mm-hmm.
thing really comes from those deeper relationships and people reflecting back to you, hey, this is what you're amazing at. So everything starts there,
Mm-hmm.
and then don't stop just because you don't see results immediately.
Mm.
Stop there because I could go for another 10 minutes.
That's so good. That's so good though. Because you're right. It's so easy to try to think, okay, how many people can I get in front of? What can I do to get in front of a lot of people? And so often these stories, the people that I speak with, it just starts with one conversation. And usually it's out of a conversation you don't even want to have because you have to force yourself to do it. And then you do it and you're like, oh, wait a second. I have a little bit of value. And then that builds. That's awesome. I love that we ended there. Okay. So before we go, could you please tell the listeners where they can find you online?
Sure, of course. So you can find me at reinaandco.com/join, and you can find all the goodies there. I am on Instagram at Reina and Company. That's not my business name, but somebody has Reina and Co. So we're at Reina and Company. I know, right? Who are you? You can find our book at bpcmbook.com or bigplanforthecreativemind.com. And the podcast is the Creative Empire Podcast.
Perfect. Okay. You heard her, girls. Go check her out, send her some love, and hop into our private Facebook group to hear even more from Reina over the next few days. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Keep the conversation going by visiting marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook, where you'll get to join that private Facebook group I've been talking so much about. There, you'll get to chat with our podcast guests. Yeah, they're in there too, and all of the other brilliant creative business owners. We're connecting, we're meeting our soul sisters, and we're building our businesses, all while in yoga pants. So come hang out with us. Again, visit marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook to get in. And one more thing. If you dig this podcast, would you be awesome and share it with someone? This entire Marketing in Yoga Pants movement is nothing without its community. So please share. And if you're really feeling the love right now, jump into iTunes. You're probably already there if you're listening to this right now. And leave us a rating and review. The more of those we rack up, the more the podcast will be found by ladies like you, and the stronger this community becomes. This episode was edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, so go find them at podcastengineers.com. This episode was also brought to you by my online marketing agency, Jam Marketing Group, and you can find us at jammarketinggroup.co. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Love ya. Bye.